and let me be clear, as the Defence Secretary has said, the contract was his decision and his decision alone. Peter Mandelson had no influence on the decision to award this contract. The deal we struck with Palantir is going to significantly reinforce the innovation of our forces, and it will reinforce the safety of this country as we move towards warfighting readiness.
Question, James Cartldge, Shadow Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Defence if he will make a statement on his department's contracts with Palantir.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Palantir is a strategic supplier to the Ministry of Defence, providing secure data integration, analytics and AI platforms that help to support operational planning and decision-making. In 2022, the Conservative government signed a 3-year enterprise agreement with Palantir. In light of the growing significance of faster operational decision-making and the impact this technology has had in operations, including in Ukraine, this government negotiated a new enterprise agreement to update the one signed in 2022 that was published in a transparency note in December last year. As part of the development of the new enterprise agreement, the MOD negotiated a strategic partnership with Palantir last September. The SPA reaffirms the strong relationship developed between UK Defence and Palantir over the past decade. It includes new commitments that this government secured from Palantir, including £1.5 billion of investment into the UK, a new UK defence tech SME mentoring scheme to help companies grow and access the US market, and a commitment that London is to be the company's European defence headquarters. Mr. Speaker, when the government took over, what the Tories started in 2022, but we made it work better for Britain and better for our forces. And let me be clear, as the Defence Secretary has said, the contract was his decision and his decision alone. Peter Mandelson had no influence on the decision to award this contract. The deal we struck with Palantir is going to significantly reinforce the innovation of our forces, and it will reinforce the safety of this country as we move towards warfighting readiness.
Thank you for granting this urgent question, Mr. Speaker. And before turning to the detail, the Mandelson scandal is truly shocking. And when debating these matters, it is incumbent on all of us to remember the victims of Epstein's crimes. And Mr. Speaker, following Peter Mandelson's sacking as US Ambassador, serious questions surrounding his influence on MOD contracts have emerged and upon which we have had no meaningful answers. Specifically, the MOD signed a contract with US firm Palantir in December 2025 worth £240 million. Critically, at a time when UK defence companies are struggling for orders from their own government, this contract did not involve a competition with British firms, but was granted to a US company by direct award. Why was that? For the record, this is not about Palantir or any other US company, and from my time as Defence Procurement Minister, I recognise the huge mutual gain to us and our closest ally that results from our strong defence relationship. It is also true that many contracts in the MOD are rightly let on a single-source basis. Rather, this is about transparency. Above all, the question is to what extent Peter Mandelson and his firm Global Counsel, in which, at the time, he was a controlling shareholder, benefited from privileged access not available to potential UK competitors, which was used to deliver a £250 million defence contract to a client of Global Counsel without competition. So, can the Minister tell us, regarding the meeting between the Prime Minister, Peter Mandelson and Palantir in February 2025 in Washington, D.C., is it true that no minutes were taken, and if not, why not? Crucially, at the time of the meeting, was the Prime Minister aware that Palantir was a client of Mandelson's firm? He must answer that. Also, in the build-up to the US state visit, we understand that Peter Mandelson lobbied the UK government for deliverables. Will the Minister commit to publishing what those deliverables were and if they involved any clients of Global Counsel? Finally, Mr. Speaker, on actions to take. Given the public interest in this matter, will Defence Ministers follow the lead of the Health Secretary and publish all their correspondence with Peter Mandelson? In addition, in the spirit of the humble address, will the Government publish all relevant material in relation to this contract award as part of the Mandelson files?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said in my first answer, Peter Mandelson had no influence on the decision to award this contract. It was a decision made by the Secretary of State and his decision alone. As the Shadow Secretary of State well knows, this enterprise agreement builds on the one that Conservative ministers signed with Palantir back in 2022, and he knows that the MOD uses Palantir tools and technology on a daily basis to support the operations and wider data analytics. I'm sure he's not suggesting that we shouldn't be maintaining access to those vital capabilities. Is he saying that his government was wrong to formalise that relationship with Palantir in their 2022 agreement? I don't think he is. I think it is really important that we publish the information. Last time I was in Washington, unfortunately, the then ambassador was not available to meet or to be there for when I was there. But the Prime Minister has been clear at the dispatch box that the public and the House deserve transparency, and we intend to publish as much material as we can as soon as reasonably possible. The Cabinet Office is working with the Met Police and the Parliament and Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee to ensure that the release of any documents do not prejudice the Met investigation or the UK's national security and international relations. The process for doing that is underway, in addition to the other actions the Prime Minister has already taken.
Chair of the Select Committee, Palantir Singh Desi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In this evolving security environment, it's clear that developments in AI, in tech, are changing the world at a rate of knots, and that those things are integral to defence. But obviously, this must not come at the cost of transparency, trust, and benefiting British businesses. For those honourable members who have been serving in this House for quite some time, dealings with Palantir have been the subject of intense scrutiny and speculation for several years. But, Minister, the key question here is, why was this particular contract not subject to the usual procurement processes, competitive processes?
Minister.
Thank my honourable friend for his question. The Palantir Enterprise Agreement was a direct award justified under the Procurement Act. The Enterprise Agreement covers existing services, and where there is a robust technical justification for using Palantir products and services for defence outcomes, all procurement procedures were followed with the publication of a transparency notice.
Alan Miller, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2020, Palantir accepted £1 in fees to trial its data collection services during COVID. Since then, the company has amassed more than £500 million worth of contracts with the NHS and MOD. Given the growing scale of Palantir's involvement in the UK, transparency around its operations is vital. Yet the government has consistently chosen to obfuscate rather than clarify. And this is especially important with technologies that may lock the UK into dependency on one supplier. So in respect to the recent £240 million contract awarded to Palantir, can I ask the Minister one more time, can he please tell the House why there was no competitive process? Was the Defence Secretary aware of Peter Mandelson's commercial links to Palantir when this decision was taken, as the Minister says, solely by him? Last month, Donald Trump threatened a NATO ally with annexation. Despite that, the government has chosen to greenlight a multi-million-pound defence contract with a company co-founded by Trump's billionaire backer Peter Thiel. We must be alert to the genuine risk that data collected by Palantir in the UK could be fed back to the White House. So can the Minister provide firm guarantees that all data collected by Palantir will not be shared beyond our Ministry of Defence?
Minister.
Can I thank him for his questions? He will have heard the answer I've just given on the procurement process to the Chair of the Select Committee. The decision, as I set out in my answers earlier, was the Secretary of State and the Secretary of State alone. He's been clear about that. He will know that the UK has a strong security and defence partnership with the United States. We are clear that we will continue to invest in that strong security and defence partnership, just as we deepen those partnerships with our European friends and allies further afield. And in relation to data, UK defence data used and developed in Palantir's software remains sovereign to the UK and under the control of the MOD and resides in the United Kingdom. We have clear contractual controls in place to ensure this, as well as the control of the data system that Palantir's software sits upon. Any change from this cannot be conducted without consent of the MOD.